Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle, Desrochers, and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Outer Realm Wednesday night segment. We are broadcasting live in United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We're fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee, who've been a part of our journey for the last few years. Thank you, Folgers. We love you. We appreciate you. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to, for that matter. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, for the contribution of his time, his music, and his voice for the intro that you just heard. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music streaming platforms. Also, thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the banners and logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror genre, but does fabulous commission pieces of any sort. So tonight's a treat because we're sharing the evening with two friends of mine. One I've known for, a million years, and which is Kerrilynn Shellhorn, of course, and she's got Spirit Switchboard at 6 o'clock on Friday nights. And Lorilei, we've known for, at least 5 years. We've been here for at least that. And she's got Angel Rock at 6 p.m. on Monday nights, and also Foot at the End of the Bed at 7 p.m. on Thursday nights. So, of course, this is all Eastern time. So it's a whole lineup of phenomenal stuff during the week. So, and it's spooky month, and it's getting into spooky week. And I know they're going to have Lorilei, I think Foot at the End of the Bed is the 31st is going to be like the Halloween party. So everybody's going. You might see hosts dropping in, and we have our own show. So if they're still going when we're dead, we might just drop in. But in the meantime, we're just going to make up for it tonight. So without further ado, the ladies. Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, are you kidding? It was great. This is great because I think we've done it individually before, but I thought this would be kind of fun. Just kind of get in there.
Well, we had an impromptu on Kerrilynn's show.
That's true. Even my own devices in the chat room, like, no.
I know. We're like a girls' club, a girls' night.
Yes. Yeah. That's a lot of fun.
Poor Joe. When we first got here, there weren't many. Well, Lorilei was there before us, right? Yeah. There weren't many female hosts on this
I got to be one of the oldie moldies too. No, right? We've all been around for a long time.
Oh my gosh!
I'm thinking after me, there wasn't many women. You're right.
No,
it's true. Well, you know what? We rule now. I'm pretty much thinking we've taken over completely. So
yeah, and she didn't do that on purpose.
I'm making my way down.
Yeah.
Getting everybody.
Hi, everybody in the chat. Thank you for being here. There's so many familiar names in there.
There is.
Hello.
This is what I love because a lot of you guys hop around between the different shows, and I think it's outstanding. So this is awesome right there. There we go. So this is fantastic. So of course it's, it is like kind of spooky month, and we're all into the field in one form or another. So what do you guys have been up to? What have you been doing to prepare for Halloween? And I know, like, I've been super ridiculously busy all month, and I know Kerrilynn's been super busy running around all month. And I think Lorilei, you've been super busy because you do a lot of stuff that you sell.
Well, yeah, I sell stuff and then creative stuff. And then I do a lot of, I'll say it safely, humanitarian stuff behind the scenes that I don't do on air.
I hear you. I hear you there. Yes, yes. Yeah. No, but I love the stuff that you do because sometimes I know you share pictures and it just is like
well, so. Kerrilynn can vouch. She was here. You've been through Thunder Bay. Amelia, have you ever been through Thunder Bay before?
Not for a long time. I was young with my parents when I went up north. I mean, like really young. I grew up in Toronto. That's a long drive.
Oh, is it ever?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I was up north and I went and it was a long drive.
Yeah.
I've done the drive down to Toronto, Guelph, Sarnia, many places like that. So it is a long drive. But there's an unusual culture in this city. So I don't do a lot with the culture and in the way of the paranormal in our city. So one of these days maybe I'll move. I've been looking at it. I think if I make a big move though, it's going to be to a beach with an ocean.
Woman after my own heart.
You're going out west, in other words.
Well, doesn't have
no island.
Yeah, yes.
Not out west. It's a mess right now.
Thank you.
We're going to Bahamas.
Thank you.
No, we're going to Bahamas. We're gonna island hop.
I love it.
Well,
and so I have fun with that.
Can you imagine how
I'll be hopping over to Scotland? So.
Oh, that's
I like the beach. Yeah.
Oh no, I just I love Europe. I just think of the different countries and how they each celebrate Halloween in different ways. In some countries, it's very new for them. Other countries like Ireland,
Ireland is the top, yeah.
Right. I mean, they've got their traditions here, which has been like amazing.
Yeah.
Except they were carving turnips. You know how hard it would be to carve a freaking turnip?
It would have to be like someone who carves wood, right? Like someone who whittles all the time. Probably did that.
Sean Williamson, who's a stonemason.
Yeah, then you'd have Venus de Milo in a turnip. Venus de Milo would show up.
Yeah.
And some countries don't. Like they think we're crazy over here in North America because we're all Halloween crazy. Like we really are. A lot of people, not everybody.
It's fairly new for us. Okay. In all fairness to us over here in the West, it's pretty new for us, Halloween, right? Because I mean, when the Irish came over, what was like late 1800s, this was a really big thing. But for us, it's just like, what is this glorious thing? This is amazing. And then for some of us, it's just like a complete it's a complete lifestyle.
Thanks, Kevin.
So sweet.
I know. So anyway, so who wants to get started? Who's doing what? What have you guys been up to prepping for Halloween?
I'm quick and easy. Just working on. I've been working on Halloween stuff since February. And we had the paranormal conference. Yeah. We had the conference here at the beginning of October, put on by Lucky Paranormal. And Kerrilynn was one of the featured speakers. And I also spoke at it as well. But we had merch tables. So I'm showing off Kerrilynn's awesome t-shirts.
Nice.
This is Kerrilynn.
It's so pretty.
And here it says, keep it weird.
It's me under the sheet.
Yeah. I should have said it.
It's so
no.
It would. It would be you for sure.
She gave it away.
So I haven't even decorated.
I love t-shirts. I'm one of those people that hoards them and buys them and yeah.
I haven't decorated either because I pretty much it's just I live it, I guess. It's just the weirdness of it all. But it's not as bad as it used to be because I have like an antique funeral collection, and then I have like skull collections, like older ones. But after having like a little grandson, I just realized I can't put stuff like that out anymore because in taxidermy, I'm limited to that because you don't want dead things literally hanging around everywhere.
But Lily, so my granddaughter and I had a tea party, and we had the little taxidermy ducklings that I have sitting in teacups on the table having tea with us. So we had a tea party with the ducklings.
Is what you're doing.
Yeah. Or at least trying to figure out how to epoxy that right now.
Well,
that would make a great table.
I'm working on Christmas.
I love all that stuff. I love the tables. I love all that stuff. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot of fun anyway, so.
Yeah. There's a whole thing for bridal right now with that, where they take their bouquet and they make end tables with it.
Yeah. By
Beautiful.
same as with, I have made some pieces with cremains in them, like
Nice.
rings and
Yeah.
pieces. I have stuff even for pets. But the
Aw.
interesting thing I found, and I shouldn't have been surprised, even having a medical background, is it doesn't set in resin like any other medium. Cremate. You could take regular wood ashes, they'll set right, but cremains.
Isn't that
I was
interesting?
shocked. I was shocked.
Don't leave me alone with the epoxy.
Well, no, but weddings especially too, right? Like you can make a whole piece.
Oh,
Someone's head.
gorgeous. I've
Mhm.
seen some really beautiful things on TikTok, and every time I see them and whenever I see the jugs on sale, I think of you. I'm like, oh, I wonder if
Aw.
Lorilei knows they're on sale.
I
They're
don't like to
beautiful.
copy though. I don't like to copy, and most of my, like, I got a box today. I sent a video to Kerrilynn, and I get it from Singapore. They usually do a Halloween box every year. They
Nice.
did it, and I thought, what am I going to do with this stupid thing? And I was hoping it was going to come in time because I could have hung all the earrings and jewelry on it. It
Yeah.
makes a little hanging closet piece on almost like on wheels out of resin for the
Yeah.
molds, and it has hangers. But it all came with skulls and lightning bolts and all kind of punky, rocky, Halloween-y kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Or everyday decor for those of you.
But resin is a great way
Yeah.
to it's a great way to preserve things and have them around you all the time, especially your memories that maybe you don't want to handle but you want to look at a lot. Hello.
Hi, Kasim.
Yeah.
Early morning over there in Sri Lanka.
He's a champion. Yeah, he's been in
Yeah.
here a few times.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, but okay. So Kerrilynn, you've been doing a bunch of events and they've
I'm dying
included
here.
investigations as well, right?
Oh, so the investigations, I haven't done investigations yet. So that's this weekend. All weekend is investigations. And then the following weekend, Halloween still continues. So it's back-to-back seances next weekend.
Very nice.
But I've been doing events. Like I literally cried today because I was so tired. I'm like, okay, this month is like, yeah, it has been a lot, but we had started off with the Paracon at the beginning of the month in Thunder Bay. There was the investigation there at the museum, which was incredible. Every floor had stuff happening at the museum. It was incredible. And then I've just had the Love Life Afterlife events. Oh yeah, I did do the investigation at the theater with people on Saturday at the Princess Ave Playhouse in St. Thomas. It's crazy. That is it's a former church that's now the theater. So it was a pretty neat experience. And we did a little of everything, including table tipping, so people could try all the equipment and then do the table tipping at the end. I think a big part of it is educating people too, right? How to start, how to finish, how to open, how to close, and why the equipment goes off the way that it does, so that they understand how to start debunking things, because it's not all.
I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad that you do the table tipping thing, because the only other place, because I could do table tipping and I've always loved it, but the only place I've ever seen it done was Lilydale. And I would go in and they would have the Victorian seances and everybody would be all dressed up in these beautiful gowns. And I should just see tables walking all over the bloody room. So it's fun.
We did it at the museum in Thunder Bay, and the spirit that was coming through, we asked if they could walk the table out to where, if they had anything personal that was an artifact. We were in the theater on the main floor. Asked the spirit if they could walk the table out to where their artifact was on the main floor from where we were at. And it walked down the hall and almost like around. And we had 5 people, and then I swapped out the people and let the other 5 walk it all the way back. It was pretty incredible.
What was their response like for people?
Everybody was freaking out.
Yeah. That energy must have just really riled it up too and kept it going.
Well, it's like that Tulpa effect sort of thing, where everybody feeds into it and gets everything.
Yeah, and the ladies from Gail and Mel from Lucky Paranormal, they did a really good job as well too in helping people not hold their breath, like getting them to clap their hands and be encouraging, and that really helped move the table along. And you could feel it because we did 4 groups of 10, and so table tipping. I just brought a small wooden table. I just put one hand. I don't know if anybody else uses 2, but I had everybody put one hand on it. And you're setting your intention that the spirits use the energy from us through to the table and lean it back and forth for yeses or nos, spin it in a circle or walk it left, right out to a place. So the first group, it just sort of rocked. The second group, really, by the time I had the 4th group, we had it out the door and down the hall.
Yeah, see, I love that.
There was a big controversy online, and I was thinking, not the controversy, but it was about table tipping. I was thinking of you, Kerrilynn, and it was on the Paranormal Files on YouTube, and he's a pretty big channel, and he does a show on Monday nights around 9:30. I don't know how the guy does it. Young guy does a new documentary, like 3.5-hour documentary, and he sits live through the whole thing. Anyways, he had gone to some place over in the UK, and they filmed it, and
Michelle was there.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
I figured. Yeah.
Anyways, he got called out because so many people thought he was faking it because they filmed it while it was happening. They're the owners. I forget the name of the place. It was a couple of weeks ago on his channel, and he actually went through it on the next week's episode and explained exactly what had happened, and was very open about it because he received so much flack. And it's kind of sad because it can happen. And
it does. I'll tell you, I worked with a family at one point. It was a friend of mine. She said, this house is really haunted. And it was up in Mount Forest. So, Kerrilynn will know where that is because it's not too far from her. So like, okay, we'll give it a try. They had this huge oak table. You could sit like 10 people at it. And all of a sudden, my friend was sitting at the far end, and all of this was recorded. There were cameras set up everywhere because they were hoping to capture the spirit, which I didn't think was a spirit. I think it was something much more malevolent. And I believe, when something is a great weight, you would need to have a lot more power to be able to move it. This thing lifted up off the floor, started rocking like this, and off the floor. It came down on the floor, and then some guy made a comment. He goes, "Oh my God, I just put these hardwood floors in." Then it grinded across the floor, came back towards me, and heaved and winded the person sitting at the other end of the table. And I just finally slammed my hand down, and the table went, ooh, and it came down. I'm like, "That's enough." But people were shocked, and I wonder if the shock factor creates an energy in itself.
I would think so.
Yeah, I would think so too. It was insane. They captured it all on video, and because they're looking under the table. I'm like, man, I am one person. I don't know how you think I can do this. I am not the queen of psycho freaking kinesis or telekinesis. I'm not.
You're talking about it. You're Kerrilynn talking about it. Michelle was there and seen it. And like I said, I just love that this call-in came on and explained they'd never tried it before. They were told to use 2 hands, and there was actually a rocking chair just on the table. So that's what they called their table tipping, and the rocking chair kept moving. So you didn't see the table move, but people were calling BS on it because they've never seen it, right? It's an old technique. Right. So I love that you're talk about it.
I think a big part for me when I'm doing any of the events is trying to honor the roots of where all of this started. So I try to do pieces of what they would have done then.
So you're going back into the Victorian times.
Yeah, which is my favorite.
Yeah,
people don't see
all of it.
Have you been to Lilydale?
Right?
Have anybody been to Lilydale at all?
I'm probably going to step in a big pile of poo when I say this, but I have not been interested in going. It feels like it would be very people-y.
Okay.
I love that.
I have friends who actually live there. And
Is it not a lot?
not a lot of people get to own stuff in Lilydale. Like you can rent the place for,
Mm-hmm.
or you can rent the land, build the house, that kind of thing. But I'll tell you, you go off season. The summertime obviously is very, very busy. But if you go off season just before a lot of the mediums will go, they'll go away for the colder months, and you really get to see it for what it is, and you get to walk the grounds alone. Like there's not a lot of people.
Is it a community or is it cliquey?
Yes. No, it's a community, and it's very. A lot of these buildings are really, really old, and their museum will have like slate writing. They'll have paintings.
That
They'll
stuff
have
I'd be
stuff from
very
Abraham
interested in.
Lincoln. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. And you go to, they have this thing called Inspiration Stump, which is kind of like this vortex. And a lot of people will go and do readings there. And
people have asked me if I want to do that. And I've said the same thing. I don't know if I would want to.
I had a friend that always went. She used to call herself my adopted mom. And she had a show over on Blog Talk Radio. She was one of the most amazing numerologists. She would take your letters of your name as well. And really, really gifted. And she just passed away last year. I miss her so much because she always said, "You need to come to Lilydale."
It's beautiful. Oh, it's really historical. If you can make it, like, and the whole hotel, they have this old hotel there, and they tell you when you go in the summer, like there'll be fans. There's no air conditioning in it. And I'm just like, yeah, hell with that. But I do stay, I've stayed at this really old home from the 1800s, which is just probably about 10 minutes from the grounds. And people go camping there too, because they've got like, I don't know, a couple of 100 acres. It's the largest spiritual community like in North America. Some people believe like in the world. So it's kind of like really cool. If you see a comment, just put it up. It's not like you guys don't know what to do. If you see something that you want to talk about,
thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I love the documentary called "No One Ever Dies on Lilydale." I don't know if anybody's seen it. You can find it. It's so heart touching. It's such that's how I found out about Lilydale years ago when it came out. It was such an amazing documentary.
It was. And you know what? For people who have strong mediumship ability, it's a place that you go to sort of recharge, because the whole environment is there it's all built around mediumship. The whole thing is about mediumship, and they have like the fairy forest, and you can go in and it's really like they have bits of everything. They really do. It's just fabulous. So
I have to highlight Mish. I always
it's more like it's such a weird, it's a weird thing. Being a medium is just weird, and finding who you jive with in a community is really hard, because some people make it competition when it doesn't need to be. So I always observe first before I step into something that way, right? Because
I agree.
People make it competition instead of community. And
well, the thing with Lilydale is, at least the way it used to be, because I was I've had some of my spirit paintings done there, and I have been read by one of the guys who used to be the head of their association. And then he said it got way too political and he stepped down, but they still invite him back to communicate, or, to do readings and things like that. But from what I understand, they used to have to test. A lot of mediums would have to test. Not everybody who goes to Lilydale can read there. You can visit there. You can do events there. It doesn't mean you can read there.
Do you have to go through the spiritualist classes as well too in order to be approved? Because a lot of the spiritualist churches won't let you present unless you've been taught under
my friend just told me
they are a spiritualist community. Their church is very close by. They also have a healing church there that I've seen work on people while I was there. I was just like, my mother, her knee was bothering her because I took her one year. They worked on her knee, and she was just like, I feel great. It's because I feel no pain at all.
The
Oh, yeah, it's
energy would be
phenomenal.
so high, right?
My friend just said she had to be tested, but that was years ago.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do it or not, eh?
I
The
would
reason why
think.
I highlighted Michelle, we are Mish.
Just put up what you need to put up.
Well, she's in Australia, so I always tease her she's in the future.
Yeah, practically. Ooh, I never
Wait a
looked at it
second.
that way. I know.
Oh my God. Tons.
That's an
Oh,
interesting
Have any
question.
of you lost friends because of your gifts? Contessa Martins. Thank you for that question.
I almost lost one, like physically, like to death, because when I read, you just silly, right? I'm 18 years old, and my best friend comes up to me. She goes, "I need to know if my boyfriend's cheating on me." Hell yes, he's cheating on you. How do you even not know? I had no tact. Okay, we'll leave it right
You're
there.
a kid, though.
Well, I'm brutally honest too. I've learned to curb some of that brutal honesty. But I found out that she had tried to end her life.
Oh,
And I realized at that point I would never ever take that responsibility onto myself again.
yeah.
It's why I've always rather I love the equipment side of things. I love dealing with the people. And I will work with mediums because I'm given all the information. So for me, I don't trust it. Whether I sense it or feel it or not, I don't trust it because I already know it. So I second guess myself and say, where is it really coming from? Is it because I already know it in my subconscious, or is it because I'm actually picking it up as well? But that was it for me. That was lesson freaking learned. So,
For myself, I have to say I haven't lost anybody, and I'm not saying this from an egotistical perspective, but as a nurse, looking back, I can say my gifts definitely helped me act much quicker than I might have before something happened or whatever. And I didn't even know what they were at that time. They were always with me, but my experiences I had in the previous home are sort of what tuned me in years ago to what this was. So I can't say losing, and I'm sorry about that, Michelle, because that must have been so difficult at the age of 18.
Well, you think you got the cat by the tail, and you got the top of the world, and but she's my best friend. So I'm always going to be honest with I'm honest. It's like, yes, he is. He's a loser. What's wrong with you? Maybe I shouldn't have said that part.
I don't know. I think that's very much what an 18-year-old, how they would respond to their friend.
Right?
Because
your
frontal lobe's not formed until you're 21, 22. So it's understandable. I don't see it as your fault at all.
Well, thank you. But I expect my friends, all of my friends, any of my friends know, they could say anything to me. You just come up, just freaking say it. I would rather know it.
Yeah.
And I've had my friends say, "You're being a real ass right now." I'm like, okay, maybe. Okay, I am. I own it.
Oh, wait, what did I do?
I will own it if I am.
Yeah.
But so I assume, which is my assumption, that they want me to reciprocate. But I've learned
not
tact.
everyone can take it. I think you have more tact than I do, so I don't know what the problem is.
I have learned tact throughout the years. So
I think it's a thing when you're age, as you get older. I lost a lot of friends, and because I kept my mouth shut for a long time and then couldn't because of 3 NDE experiences, and I couldn't. There was no way I could suppress any of it. So I really had no choice, and I lost a lot of friends, and it took me a long time to realize that they just weren't friends. That's it. Because I know I accept, and I hate saying it's so narcissistic, but when you accept so many faults of other people, and this is supposed to be a gift, this isn't a fault. This isn't something that's ugly. It's a beautiful thing when you're helping people. And it's an important thing. It has no room for ego or pride. Absolutely not. But it shouldn't be shame. You shouldn't be ashamed of it either, or felt to be ashamed of. And I'm glad to see that it's changing for the next generation with the way things are out and the internet. But I can say I lost a few friends that were very in my life for a long time and very close. And one of them, I was completely in shock. Completely in shock, and it hurt me a lot. But I got over it. It's been over 10 years, so I got past it. But
Kerrilynn, how about you?
Kasoon asked a good question. He's asking, how does someone know if it's actually psychic info, not just their imagination? That's a good question.
Anyone?
Well, I think it takes practice, and depending on what kind of research you look at, there are people that have looked into this, actually mapping areas of the brain. I think my thing is, I think everybody has these abilities when we come in, right? Some people hang on to them right from birth and onwards. Other kids get told they're too old to be playing with that kind of nonsense. It's your imagination. You don't know, you need to grow up. And so I always believe that if somebody feels that calling, and it's going to take work, like it's like if you learned a skill as a very young child and then you kind of put it in the background and forgot about it, but you want to go back to it, you're going to need to develop those skills again. So I think it comes with, if you're one of those people. I think that if you hang on to it from birth, and maybe I'm out of place to answer this because Kerrilynn, I know you have shared that you've been doing this since you were a small child, as I'm sure many of you, all three of you have, that I think you just kind of know, right? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Kerrilynn?
I'll share a story about my son. So I had walked in. My oldest son would have been about 15. And he was on the computer. I'd walked into the living room and he was crying. And I'm like, what's the matter, dude? And he said, I have thoughts and voices. And he said, I think I have acute schizophrenia. I went, well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that then. What are the voices saying to you? And he said, they're telling me their name. And I said, are they asking you to do anything? And he said, they're asking for help to go to the light. And I went, okay, so you know that I've been this way, so it means you're this way. If it's not asking you to harm yourself, it's not asking you to do hurtful things to yourself or to other people, you're just going to be like me. And so that it was a teaching moment. So I find if it's something that is intuitive or mediumship, it's usually lighter. Even if it's hard, it's coming from a lighter space, and it's not harmful or hurtful. And then it's learning discernment. It's learning the discernment, because and it is a wibbly wobbly line, because when we're teaching manifesting, we're telling people to use their imagination to start with. So it starts with imagination and then it moves into something else, right? So
Yeah.
It's discernment, I think, is
I was thinking though, like when somebody's trying to do this type of stuff, and we've run into people, I know even myself in the beginning, tuning back into it years ago, that something maybe you really, really want, and you're wondering, you might hear yes asking yourself, and is that my imagination, or is that actually your higher self getting into your guides or what, right?
But you'll feel it.
I think that's a beautiful example you gave, and right.
Your emotional body, your physical body,
right.
your mental body, it will all be in alignment and feels, it's just it's all in alignment.
Yeah.
And when you can feel it differently. I don't know if that's a helpful answer.
It's a tough one. So here's a question. What do you do? I mean, when you have a child, I used to often have parents message me and say, can you teach can you teach my kids about the paranormal, or my child, or my daughter? And I'm like, oh, your kids, and sometimes it would be preteens or teens. I'm just like, I'm not comfortable teaching preteens, or I'm not the parent, and it's not my place. It's not like we're talking mediumship. It's just like, I could have probably done classes on teaching paranormal to kids, but I'm just not comfortable with that. I don't know that, and this is my question: is there a place for,
if they're already having experiences? I ran summer camps for kids, so they could get together.
Okay, perfect. So how did
when
you?
I first kind of came out of the closet, witchy boo closet, I had 17 years ago, it was a parenting radio show for parenting kids who were having intuitive experiences.
Excellent.
And that's sort of where it started for me. So it was always a parent reaching out because a kid was having experiences. So giving the parents tools and the kids tools. And
I've done that, not taught classes, but I have done that with parents, worked with them.
See, that's the key. I've worked with parents, but we're not talking even just kids who've had experiences. These are just healthy curiosities. I mean, I've met children who parents just let them run amok with, oh, here's ghost equipment. And they're come back and the guy's like, oh, God, doors opening and closing by themselves. You have a problem?
Because they've not opened and closed properly. But I think
no, I mean physically opening and closing. And I'm like, you have an issue. But
energetically something has opened and not been closed properly. And so then to me, the bigger question too is then has social media, television opened that door? So that's where, parents are watching it and kids are watching it. It's
the other thing I have to add, Kerrilynn, I love the way that you handle things with your son that you just shared. And I tried to do this with my boys too. And I'm sure all of us, when it runs in the family, it kind of just trickles down to our kids, right? But you handled it so beautifully. Instead of saying, what do you mean? Oh my God, you've got schizophrenia. Why do you think? You asked him what's going on. What are you feeling?
No panic buttons.
You recognized it.
But a lot of parents don't do that. They freak out, especially if they're watching on TV. They're not living in this world, or they have a child that's starting to show signs of having these gifts. And that was usually the type of parents that from time to time still run into parents like that. So equipping the parents with the tools, I think for myself always worked well. But I love that you've done the work that you have with children, Kerrilynn, and I think it's really needed.
Amelia, you were going to say something when we were talking about
television
media.
No, it's okay. No,
I said Lorilei, thank you for that.
I said you recognize the same. You know your empathy as well. It wasn't just your son. You were picking up on everything. It was all your gifts and your love as a mother, just enveloping him and wanting. That's how I felt when you were saying it. You recognized it. You could see it. You could hear it in yourself and your experience.
Well, when we had those experiences as a kid, right? So we kind of know. And I feel the more we talk about it and make it normal, we can educate people so that if they're giving their 8-year-olds the stuff, they know how to open and close it. Because it's so funny that we're having this conversation right now, because I gave somebody I gave them dowsing rods, a K2 meter. There was a couple of other things, but showed them how to do this because they're going to Kingston this weekend with their kids. And I said, just walk around the graveyard, walk around the park.
Yeah.
Here you go. But here's how you're going to open it, and here's how you're going to close it.
I'd like to address this actually, because I've run into last couple of decades of doing this. The parents who don't understand, but also the parents who shame in a way. And I don't want to finger point and I'm not trying to be malicious about it, because if you don't have an understanding, it's hard to have an understanding for what your child is going through. But unfortunately, if children are very gifted. So if a child says, I have an imaginary friend, or I see somebody, the worst thing we can do as parents is say, don't be stupid, don't be silly, there's no such thing. Because let's face it, we're the ones that they trust, that if they're fearful or if something isn't quite natural, we're the ones they come to tell, hey, this is going on. And if you make them feel silly, they're going to clamor up. They're not going to say anything. And in some cases, not all, in some cases, they can get themselves in a little bit of trouble, with a controlling spirit or worse.
And not just spirit, but like the humans can be worse too. Like the more that they trust their intuition and what they're getting, the less they give their power away to other people, and other people's opinions will be more important than their own.
Correct.
The other
feelings
thing that
and gut feeling.
I agree 100%. The other thing I have seen, especially with the energy healing work I do, is most of us, not all of us, but most of us have not been taught to be able to quiet the mind for a minute or two and ask your body a question. Why is this happening? What message are you giving me? The body speaks a different language, right? I always say pain is the voice of the body, but it doesn't always have to be pain. If you've got something going on physically, in your body will answer, right? But we've never been taught to tune into that. Then religion comes in without dumping anything on religion. Whatever way works for you is great. But sometimes when you've got a child like that, parents get very scared. And so hopefully between the shows that we do and many other people that do, they'll know that there's people out there that could help. Because
and put your own fear aside. Don't project it onto your child, because kids are pretty fearless.
Wow.
And then, you know,
People are not very good with accountability.
No. Come on.
We're going to be honest about that.
What?
Yeah.
Right.
Seems to be the big word for the last 4 years, accountability. My experience, long story short, was ashamed and was not to talk about it. So mentoring children whose parents wanted to learn how was hugely important to me.
I agree.
Years ago when I did it, I loved it. And I stayed with one in particular child for, oh my gosh, almost 5 years of her life when she chose to shut this down. And that she did not want to continue exploring. And she said, I just want to have a normal life. And what I loved about her parents were they were so supportive of her, talking to her and just asking questions. How do we explain this? How do we explain that? And the one little thing that I found works is like when you're speaking to a child about sex, you don't want to give everything away. Kids just need the answer to the question they're asking. They don't need that full explanation at times how we are, how some adults are, like me. Like, I want all your details when you say something. But children sometimes are just asking a question because they're asking a question. And just,
or we live in a house with activity. So if a
that's different.
Even came up, I didn't ever push it on them, because my boys both have abilities, especially my eldest going through adolescence. I'm turning my gifts off. All right, if that's what you choose to do. It may be a day. He has since tuned back into them, but being supportive, as well as, again, I have to go back to the fact that we got to ask them, what are you feeling? What are you picking up? What do you how does this make you feel?
100%.
And then, like, same, whether it's sex, I never had the talk with my boys, but I can tell you, well, my youngest was different, but my eldest, I remember my friends were horrified that my kid knew all about this stuff. I said, because I didn't sit down and say, we're going to have the talk. But, you spend time with your children. There's things that come up. There's a question. There's something comes up on TV. What do you think about that? How does it make you feel? And having a discussion and educating.
And when they're tapping into their body and how they're feeling things intuitively, it has to extend out further than that too. Is this your stuff, like discernment, your stuff, somebody else's stuff, or stuff in spirit? So then
that
they can
one's
make
hard.
those choices, right?
Yeah, that's hard for me sometimes.
That was so important to add.
I'm overtired.
You added that, Kerrilynn. That is so important, because especially I'm one of those people. Maybe I would always pick up other people's pain, other people's everything. And I also know, even though if I hide my face and I might have a smile on my face, if I'm not in a great mood, people can pick it up. So
and we're moving into where all the kids are going to start running around places, and it's Halloween, right? Like, I've been asked by their Girl Guide groups to walk them through the cemeteries. Like,
how cool is that?
It was super cool. But I just always see it as a learning, like, it's a teachable moment. Here's a teachable moment. Here's how we're going to,
that's
so
what
you
it
are
is.
educated on how to do this properly, right?
Yeah.
Amelia said, you don't give them more than what they've asked. If they want to know more, they will ask you. But also, I think there's nothing more uncomfortable, whether we've seen it in movies or heard of people that's happened, where, let's use the topic of sex again. I know we're talking about paranormal, but even sitting down, we're having the talk. Nobody wants to talk.
You don't have to say that. You just, like you said, you address it in the moment. And I just used to say to them, just don't give too much information. Remember how old they are, and you know your child, if they can handle or not handle, and see how it makes them feel when they're asking you. But it's a lot of questions. We're simplifying it here, but it really
Yeah.
is a lot of questions, but it's a conversation, not an interview with the child.
Mhm.
And
Funny,
respecting that it's their truth.
Yes.
Having
Always.
to
That is,
respect
I'm
it.
so glad you said that. That is so important. So important.
the other
It's a
thing,
different journey for everyone. You
Yeah.
know, and this is their journey wherever it takes them, and it's very difficult, especially as a parent, to take a step back and not interfere. You know, you can
reading my
nudge
mind.
them in
I
the
was
right
just gonna
direction, you can make recommendations, you can suggest. It's very difficult to step in and say no. When they get to a certain age, that doesn't work anymore. You know, you just can't
No,
say
but it is important to recognize that each human being on this planet is here for their own journey, their own experiences,
Mhm.
whatever, right? And growing up, I was always expected to be something versus what I do now, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I think it's so important that we encourage, like Connie added, she said, I was never asked in my family, how am I feeling? I think it goes hand in hand with a lot of the stuff we're talking about
Mhm.
with the paranormal and abilities. And
Mm.
Never. My mom was more, I think because there was such a big age gap. She was 41, turned 41 after having me. I was her fifth child. And she had been through a lot between the Second World War, losing a child, being separated from my dad for a few years when he came here. There was a lot of trauma being thrown out of her aunt's house with my brother after my sister passed away as a baby. She went through a lot, and it all falls on mostly her side of the family and what she saw. And I want to believe, because a mother loves her child, even though I always say there's chains that are broken, and she used to be hit, and with me she was verbally abusive, and I don't believe it was intentional. I believe she just didn't know any better. It was that age gap, it was the language gap. I think a lot of that had to do with it, but she was so concerned about what anyone would say or think if they knew.
That's that generation too, though.
Yeah.
That
She would have
whole
been.
generation was like that.
Yeah, she was 1928, so she,
Yeah.
my dad, whole different person, creative person, builder, carpenter, but also a musician, self-taught musician. And I feel like maybe I did get some of it from him, after learning things. We always think we're getting it from
Right.
one side of the family, but who knows where our strength really comes from. And he was more of a champion and a cheerleader. So I want to believe there's always one parent who's going to be cheering you on, and hopefully both, now that it's a new generation, more open-minded and a lot of access to the internet. So
My mom was great. My dad was like, don't be ridiculous. The house is settling. No, it's not.
Yeah.
And as
There's
an
always
adult,
one,
he
at least in
confessed a
our
lot
generation.
more.
Yeah.
He confessed a lot more as he got older, and he would say, oh, I used to have all these experiences as you made me feel.
my dad
what
used to
the heck was that about? Because he had all these experiences and gifted and UFOs and deceased friends and relatives visiting, but wasn't relaxed enough to talk about it, unlike my mother and her side of the family. And he was the only one in his family that ever talked about it. But it wasn't until adulthood, when I was into the field, and he goes, oh yeah, well, I would do this and I experienced this and one time this. I just sat there going, who are you? What have you done with my dad?
my dad used to talk about this. He was one of 17 kids. God, my grandmother was never very pleasant. And then I found out good French Canadian
17
Catholic.
kids? She must have been pleasant.
Wait, French Canadian
Sorry,
I just pregnant every year for 25 years.
That's why she was miserable.
Wow.
So my dad.
I mean, eventually you just catch them on the way out, right?
It reminds me of the meaning of life with Monty Python. I don't know if it was. I wasn't around then.
I think it was a thing, though. It was a thing that they had lots of children. It's not uncommon back then.
But my grandmother, he used to tell this story that when he was about 12 and they were all around the dinner table, and my grandmother was from Belgium, and she stood up screaming, their third son, saying him by name, that he's dead. and she was screaming, and she never did stuff like that. Apparently, as my dad told the story, and my grandfather told her to sit down. You're being ridiculous. He's just late for dinner. And I think it was like 6:07 p.m. or something when she stood up. And the story was that I guess the police showed up an hour and a half later. And my uncle, obviously, who I never met, my dad was only about 12, they showed up, and my uncle had been out hot rodding around with his best friend. So this would have been probably mid 50s. And I guess he was in front driving, best friend behind him. They didn't have seatbelts on, going at a high speed. And apparently my uncle's door opened at 6:07 p.m. His best friend ran him over.
Whoa, that's
spooky.
Yeah.
So my dad would talk about it, never my mom. But I always had, all of us have all had, we've talked about it before, we've all had really weird stuff happen to us growing up as young kids.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
a
crazy.
big tree.
So, okay, bearing all this in mind, everybody's who came from this kind of like the School of Hard Knocks. I was grateful for my mother, who was very open about it. And would say, it's better you talk to me. Don't talk about it in front of your dad. It's like, great. We just don't want to talk to the neighbors about it. Wonderful. Okay.
I could tell my kids that we don't talk about that, especially some with autism. We don't talk about what's in our house. Okay. People won't understand.
No, because children with autism or Down syndrome are they're really gifted. My niece has autism, and she was visiting one time. She leans over to my sister and she goes, "Mommy," and at this time she's probably about 18. She goes, "Yes." She goes, "Why is there something growling?" I was like, "Sorry, that's with me." I say I own everything. That was with me. Sorry.
My son asked me that last night about goes, do we have the word with G? He goes, the thing with the G with the red eyes still, he still knows, and they pick it up.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, great. Hey,
my family is crazy. Hi, Roger. We take photos and look for orbs. We're so nuts. But anyway.
Oh yeah.
We're the crazy ones, especially because the family's so big, and I'm the baby on both sides because my parents had me so late. So some of my cousins are a bit older than me. My niece is only 8 years younger than me, and my youngest brother is 9 years older than me. So make sense. But we will take pictures. The women, never the guys. They all think we're loony. And we'll take pictures, and then everybody is comparing their shots to see if anything's showing up, right? Because we all have that. So yeah, we all have some gift. And you were mentioning about competition earlier, Kerrilynn, and I think it's so important because I find for me, it's a lot with male mediums that it's just sometimes I don't know why, but and no offense to you, Roger, you're amazing. I find that sometimes it's not that easy. It's not that easy for them to take on someone as a partner. I'm more of a team player. I love working with teams, and I think you should value and be happy that everyone has a different gift because it only strengthens the team. Right? When you're working together, it strengthens it. Not everybody has the same strengths.
Right.
And it's important.
If everybody plays nice in the sandbox, it works well.
It works really, really beautifully. Really beautifully. And it's so important. And I just, lost a few friends with that stuff. But I just found when I started working, I was having more problems with male mediums than I had. No problems with women. They all wanted to take me under their wing and mentor me and everything. But the guys, oh my gosh. Okay, where do I send your check? Don't worry. If it's money, I will find you. But so
I think people forget who we're supposed to be in service for, and it's not ourselves. Even if we're working in a team, we're being in service for
not
those
about
people
us.
In spirit. It's not about us.
It's not about us.
And that's where it goes sideways.
Yeah. No, if you're finding yourself intimidated or feeling kind of green about someone else, I think you need a moment to ground and come recharge and rethink because there's nothing more beautiful than learning from someone else. You have to be open to that as well.
Well, a lot of people overstep boundaries too, and they don't realize, they don't keep it in check. And there's a lot of, do's and don'ts in any field, in any business, any field. You
I was
have
just going
to.
to say that doesn't matter what field. I can tell you the one
Yeah.
thing I loved about being a nurse is when men started coming in the field, because we, high stress job, and you're working I used to work in the NICU. Oh my God, like you could just feel it walking in, like, and what the mood was, and everybody's barking at each other and snipping and sniping. And I understand because it was high stress, but it was awful. I almost quit nursing. And
oh no, see, you're perfect for NICU. You have the perfect personality.
Oh, I loved it. I loved working in the community, because I always say, and I went into some probably looking back now, pretty haunted places. The oldest places, the most dangerous part of the town I had on the south side of the city. I went into some of those hotels that no longer stand, that I think now, oh my God, how did I go in there? They didn't even have the cell phones had just come out. But the thing is, right, I got to do what I wanted. I got to be with the people I wanted, and why I became a nurse. And I think we have to remember, when we're in the paranormal field too, regardless of what we do, who we're in service to, like you said, Kerrilynn. Absolutely.
You're in service to people. You're in service to the other side. You're in service. If you're doing energy work and light work, you're in service to the planet. You're in service to the environment. You're in service to everything but you.
Yeah.
And the personal healing matters, like personal accountability and your personal healing. All of that matters, and it affects how far you go, or how you receive.
Can use it. Everybody can use it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you guys see something, here's a question. I know, Kerrilynn, you're eyeballing this one.
Hi, Kelly.
And Roger says, you think a lot of men are more conceited than women, but from a psychic medium standpoint.
I don't really have a reference for that to answer it, to be honest. Like,
I have 4.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I know.
that doesn't sound good.
But again, I don't think it's more one gender than the other.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's in our area, Amelia.
Kelly.
Like, it's just a lot of competition.
There's I don't know. I see
which, again, stepping in a big pile of poo, but
no, I agree with you on that. I'm just saying, that's why we've always tried. It's so funny because we always try to get this paranormal unity thing going. And as long as I've been online as a medium since 2012, I have never seen it happen. And right now you're seeing it happen. The 4 of us are flowing, our energy is working with each other. This is how it always should be. And there's times where you're part of something. There's times that you're not. Like, we have our own lessons in life. We have to help as well. And big believer in build a longer table, not a higher fence. I'm a firm believer in that. And I think, honestly, in not that it's all male psychic mediums, just the few 4 that I encountered. But in my defense, none of them are really active as much anymore. And a few have been proven not to be real. So I think that's where that ego and that competition comes from.
I think that's a big word right there.
Roger, you're like, what if I stop it? I want to mess up the flow. No. We like you, Roger.
Unity. I think, Roger, we're talking unity.
Yes, part of it is, I think, too, whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter what field. There's many reasons. There's many big bag, if you want, of their shadow, whatever you want to call it, carrying behind them that they haven't dealt with. And you said it too. I was thinking it, Kerrilynn. That's where it's up to us, I think, the inner responsibility to step up and work on what are my issues. What are my issues? And men, you got to think too where they've come from. It wasn't always appropriate for men to step up and say how they're feeling. whether they feel threatened, whether they feel whatever it might be, they feel in, because don't you find when you run into people that seem to have ego, there's many different reasons, but a lot of time people feel very, not threatened, but insignificant, maybe not so confident. So they almost overreact in a way too, right?
Yeah.
I think you need to learn where your own boundaries are. You need to learn where your strengths are. I've been in the paranormal field for a couple of decades, and I'll tell you the thing that I enjoy the most. I've always worked with dark elements. It's what I became known for. What I enjoy the most, and I work with people around the world doing energy work, planetary energy work, or working with different elements and different energy spots and energy lines and lining things up, getting things just grooving, but there's a lot more working with consciousness. But you need to jive with people because you're working in sync with them. You can't just dive up ahead. I'll take care of this. And everybody works in sync with one another. And I think it's very important. And you see immediate results when you start checking what you're working on. It's amazing how fast it comes up just through watching, even the consciousness part of everything.
I want to add to Alan. Alan, we're not bashing men. And if you think we are, I'm sorry, but we're not.
No, we're not.
No.
We love Roger. Are you kidding?
No. And I said that right at the beginning. Roger.
I don't necessarily think, I hope, Alan, that it's not how you're feeling necessarily, but the way this conversation is going. But I will say that it's not necessarily a new norm. Like my oldest son is 31, and we didn't have, I got rid of our TV, and I was a single mom forever. I got rid of our TV because commercials always made men look stupid, and I didn't want my boys to feel that they were dumb, that their gender was dumb in the commercials and everything else. I was very careful about what I exposed especially my boys. I have 3 boys and 1 girl. And I wanted them to have positive things around. What are you?
I'm a daughter of 3 boys and 1 girl too.
All right, what are you just letting the cat out of the bag?
Yeah,
I never had any.
No.
Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of it. Sorry, Michelle, if I'm over top of you. We can.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say too that I had just boys, but I always tried to raise them too that everybody matters. It doesn't matter whether you're a boy or a girl, and to teach them how to treat people properly. So I can tell you, we're not jumping on that. So we're sorry if maybe you feel that way, but
no, that's my fault. Hi, Faye. Thank God you're here.
Okay.
That's my fault. It was my personal experience when I started, and we're going back 12 years. So it's not something that I'm seeing, and you don't see too many of them. But, this was my personal experience when I first came into the field and started to learn and get to know people, the celebrities.
Well, yeah.
Well, we won't treat you that way, Alan. Don't worry. You're welcome. Everybody's welcome. You should play nice, as Kerrilynn said.
I have 3 brothers. No.
You know what, Roger? I just got a microwave too. If we're going to talk about no TV, I got a microwave for the first time in 18 years last summer because my mom was coming to visit and I didn't want her to at me anymore. But not having a microwave.
How do I warm this up?
I'm like Little House on the Prairie over here, cast iron pans.
No, but see, I can relate to that. I call the microwave an overpriced popcorn maker that they use it for.
Not your butter.
I still believe in heating and warming things up. I have a toaster oven. You can ask Michelle how many I've had just in the time that she's known me, because for some reason I blew them up. But microwaves scare the crap out of me, even being near them.
Yeah.
Makes me uncomfortable.
I don't like that they mutate my food.
Yeah, I don't.
I just don't do it.
Right? It scares me. It scares me. I learned more about it when I had my daughter, because at first I was nursing with her kidney disease and everything. I pushed it as far as I could. And then when she didn't want me anymore. I felt so rejected. But anyways, and she finally had this specialized formula for her. I would warm up the bottle the old school way because I was scared to put it in. I'm like, those things are still going inside because she drank that formula until she was about 4 years old.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah, for sure.
Because it gets so hot in the middle and they might feel,
but it could continue cooking your insides. We don't know how that works. I mean, the man who realized it works had something in his pocket and it melted, and that's how he learned. And he was just standing next to it. So.
Okay, so we're going to take.
Sorry that we got off topic.
We're good. And I don't care. It does happens all the time whenever we're together. Anyway, it happens all the time.
Everybody seems fine.
If we're together, it happens. But okay, we have to do a station sponsor ID, and then we'll continue on with some of the do's and don'ts around this time of year.
Oh my. Okay. You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans on 107.7 FM radio, as well as on the Gulf Coast on 105.3 FM radio. We are live. We're on Roku TV, Rumble, YouTube, and all of our Facebook group pages I am not naming. You can listen to us on Alexa Prime and about 250 streaming platforms. Simply search United Public Radio and then The Outer Realm, and you'll be able to find us on any platform that you normally use. So tonight we have two special guests, both friends and both incredible hosts on here on UPRN. Thank you, Joe Montaldo Network. Lorilei Potvin and her show Angel Rock and Thing at the Foot of the Bed, as well as Kerrilynn Shellhorn with Spirit Switchboard. Don't forget to check them out. All the other amazing shows on this network. Now for a huge moment of gratitude to the big guys. Thank you, Folgers, from our first episode with UPRN 2020. We thank you for your continued support and sponsoring our show. We love you, and we hope that this is a long, long relationship. Our fabulous, start that again. Our fabulous banner and promo media is courtesy of Steve McGinnis, horror illustrator and artist. He is incredible. Check out his stuff. He creates custom commissioned pieces as well. You can find him on Facebook. Thank you so much, Steve. For our intro is so cool and unique. If you haven't heard it, you're going to want to play it and listen to it. And then you're going to want all of the music of this incredible artist, Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, a.k.a. Justin Snicker, award-winning composer, vocalist, and musician. You can find his music on Amazon and Bandcamp, stream on any platform. Find Dr. Snick on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you, Justin. And of course, it's that time of year for Justin. Like, Justin's got the best Halloween music, just saying. So lastly, he has the best Halloween music. Lastly, you're watching this episode. This is the time in the show where I scold you, basically. Please give us a like, a subscribe, smash that notifications button so you never miss a show, and kindly share us with your friends and family. Help us grow on social media. We know the numbers are big on radio. We want to see that. We want to see what you're interested in, bringing more to you of the guests best in their fields, just for you. So please hit like, subscribe, and notifications. Thank you.
And we're also on Rumble. And for you guys, I know because I can see quite a few of you listening in on Rumble. We can actually see your comments if they come to the soundboard. So feel free to comment if you so care to. We would love to hear what you have to say.
I have to get on Rumble.
So, okay. So, we're that time of year, and we have a lot of people going out to haunted events. I mean, this is what I did. Casa Loma ghostly events for like 5 years. I did ghost tours for probably, I would say, at least 14 years. And there, people come out in droves, and then people like to go out on their own. People like to go out to different locations. And I've got a couple of questions with respect to that. You guys could tell me how you feel. when we're going out to these locations, do you feel that some of these places should take responsibility for teaching people the do's and don'ts? I used to often at Castle Home, I always taught people stuff. The ghost tours, more of a ghost tour. People didn't come to investigate, but if they wanted to, I would teach them how to essentially do that. Do you think it's up to these locations to teach people how to protect themselves, or do you think they should just come to you somewhat versed?
So we're assuming that they know.
I was thinking that too. Or what are they bringing with them? Their spiritual abilities and everything else.
Sorry.
Go crazy. Go crazy. Go crazy.
I don't think it hurts to have that conversation, including, I think anybody can learn, and it's very helpful to learn how to ground, especially with busy lives and stuff. Go ahead, Kerrilynn, what were you going to say?
Oh, no. Another big pile of poo.
Go ahead.
It's just cow pies going on here tonight.
I said do it.
I think it's intention too, right? Is it in their best interest to teach people? Is it in their best interest for people to understand? Are they wanting people to depend on them? Are they wanting people to call on them later? There's some of that as well too. Like but I feel educating people is super important. Educating them and understanding if you're going to have paranormal equipment, how does it work and why does it work? How can you use it to debunk as well too? And energetically, but how it can affect you and how you affect a space as well too, and what could potentially go home, and how to interact with spirits too. You know, what's appropriate or not appropriate. That these were people.
Sorry, I keep talking over you, and I don't mean to. I've got a bit of a delay being way up here, way up farther.
I'm shushing now.
No. There's a lag on all four of us. Yeah.
But if it's a walk, right? Like if you're having a walkthrough, I don't think it hurts to offer. And especially I think it's vital that we teach people, if you're going to have an experience, like say you don't have equipment, you're going on a haunted walk, you've got a manageable group, to offer it. That, you know, there's a proper way to conduct yourselves, because I'm sorry, with the advent of TV, I won't say his name, but Mr. Tight T-shirt wearing Mr. Gentleman and thinking everything's a demon and let's provoke. We need to
attachment. Sometimes that tight T-shirt wearing demon isn't too bad looking. It's just stupid when he opens his mouth.
He was
needs to keep his mouth shut.
Yes, but people like to emulate him. I have
absolutely.
I find people that I, for the longest time, not so much anymore, but I would end up getting these poor young gentlemen in their early 20s, kind of loners, but really wanting to belong to something, and watching that show, especially in particular, because it was one of the biggest ones, going to very well-known locations and taking something home with themselves, investigating by themselves, and then going, oh my God, all heck's breaking loose in my house. What do I do?
Yeah, but they never teach what you do before you go into
exactly
an investigation, and what you do when you walk out of an investigation. That's not taught on television.
I agree. That's
the only show that ever taught it was Paranormal State with Ryan Buell. They did it because they were university students doing a study, and I think that's why you saw that. Beginning and end. They did do this. They did a prayer thing, and they did the protection, and afterwards as well. And
then let's talk about that then for a minute. What is proper protocol in going to some of these locations?
I think sometimes you need that kind of proper protocol just to meet your family at a restaurant. Just saying.
I agree.
Sometimes you just need it before you walk into a mall too. Like there's nothing wrong with shielding. Yeah.
Because my son, my eldest son, and I mean, now that he's on his own, I don't see him quite as often, but especially he's living at home and we'd run to the mall, and he's a pretty easygoing, kind of outgoing person, kind of like his mom. But when you go to a mall, he gets super cranky, and I'd say, what's with, oh yeah, I forgot, it affects you. And he'd forget to ground and shield before we went in, right? To get grumpy. So it happens to everybody. If you're sensitive.
There's the flip side to that too, though. all of us, or most of us, people who are going to those locations are wanting to have a personal experience, and you could shields up and protect yourself to that point where you do not have the personal experience that you're going to there for, right? So it's still educating people and giving them the autonomy and the choice. Here's what you can do in whatever fits your belief system. Is important as well too, and understanding where the land is, and honoring whatever the heritage is and the history to the land that location is also connected to. I think that's also important.
I've never gone on an investigation other than when I met Michelle. That's not what I do, but my experiences have been just random, not looking for it, didn't know a place was haunted, just things happen. That's just pretty much how my life has been. So that's why when I joke and say, when you're meeting your family at a restaurant, because some people close to you, especially your family, can and you want to make sure that you don't open yourself to anger or whatever, apathy, whatever it is, to let something come in, because that could happen just going out for a meal as well, which brings
more
again
people
more
seek
the
it out in October.
Yes, absolutely. It's Halloween. They start in September with the tours. I think they're fantastic and a lot of fun, and I believe you should enjoy it. But also, Kerrilynn, I believe what you said. It's about the intention behind it.
Intention is everything. Mindset is everything. Frequency, vibration, what you put out there could possibly come back at you. So if you're feeling foul and you're going to go in, and you may just attract that type of energy to come back to you. So if you go lighthearted, just remember, a lot of these cases, these are people without body. They're still people. Right. And I think we lose sight of that, because we do see so much television. We have, we have people out there. I've heard them called, couch investigators. And I don't mean that. And, that's not a disrespectful thing. Some people just there's just nowhere to go around their place. They don't have teams to join. They don't have haunted locations that they could go to. They don't, so they sit down, and this is how they get things. But unfortunately with television, you're only getting part of the story. You're getting the part that's going to attract the ratings. You're not going to get the real genuine part, of these good spirits, and you have some people coming in there and, I command you to do this and that. Well, sorry, who the hell are you? Like that.
Or the hours of nothing.
You don't see that. And they on television, they can't spend the time that they need to be there. They're only there a couple days, maybe. Maybe.
Thank you.
Even our episode we did, that we were so grateful. I'm not complaining. And I didn't know Michelle when she commented on their episode. That's how small the world is. People.
That was pretty funny, actually, when you said that.
I know. We shared our story on the Travel Channel's Paranormal Survivor. And it was called Demonic Hauntings. I did not name it. I almost watched it when they did the link.
I know.
I said,
that was a great show, though. That was a great show.
If you call it that, I'm not doing it. Oh no, we're not going to call it that. They did. But anyways, Michelle commented on it. They talked to us for 6 hours. My ex-husband even signed a release. My eldest didn't want to be involved. We gave him the respect that, we totally concur. And we're very grateful for the way they told the story. But the reason why I'm sharing this is you are 100% right, Michelle, and everybody else, what you've said about TV. They're creating a story, and when it's supposed to be scary, they're going to twist and turn the narrative, and you don't get the full story.
They have to.
You get half a story, and then they use people called experts, which there's no such thing. I say, you shouldn't use that word. Nobody will believe it. Well, we like it, so we're going to use it, right? and then I pop off like 4 or 5 other answers to the question, and
but we never talked to you.
But it could be this too. Okay, but you have to say it. Well, you said the other stuff, but it could be this. So,
and there's some locations that do not want you to deviate from their branding and the narrative that they 100%. Have put out. You cannot.
It's a formula. You cannot go against the formula. And this is what people don't realize. It's a formula. That's it.
Can I say
something?
Wayne's
right. Sorry, go ahead.
I will read Wayne's comment, and then I want to say something that I found on TV today, Michelle. I was so excited when I found it. Hi, Wayne. Wayne says, another fallout problem from investigations are those who break into an abandoned place, assuming that it's haunted because it looks a certain way. First of all, it's illegal, but you can get seriously hurt. That's the big one. Yes. Today I was searching to see what's new, in stories and ghost things and stuff like that. And I found an oldie on a certain large streaming network, and it's called Extreme Ghost Stories. The one from UK. So they have a whole season, and the first one is the Enfield haunting with actual recordings and everything. And I'm watching this thinking, this is how they were all supposed to be. Just like this show. Compassion, kindness. It was just respect. It was just so well done. Why didn't we stick to that one?
Because it didn't sell.
It just sold to a big streaming network that some people shop at, just saying. And it's on there if you want to watch it. And I was pleasantly surprised and so happy to watch it because the UK has the best stories. I'm just saying.
They do.
A lot of good
everything
stories.
ends up there. Everything ends up on these streaming platforms.
Old.
But you're not going to get it any easier. And I think it's important that people realize that truth. This running and screaming.
Yes.
For sure. But realize what you see on TV is not real life. So when you're going into these haunted locations, be respectful. Don't do what you see on TV. It may not work in your favor by any means. So what's the best way to stay safe, you guys?
Don't go. It just happens in my everyday life. I don't think I need to go anywhere. I'm a lot like Faye Rogers. It comes here, but
so what is your?
I'm going to leave it to the experts, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying it in a respectable way.
Who are these experts that you speak?
Yeah, didn't you just hear my part about the whole expert?
Experience. How's that? Experienced guides. How's that? Because I've never done it, so.
I just think that you need to be very well grounded. I think that if you're sick, don't be drinking alcohol, especially if you're new at it. It definitely opens you up. I have a video. I don't have a big YouTube channel, so I'm not trying to promote it, but I have 2 videos I share with people a lot. One is how to ground and grid. And Michelle, you've given me some great tips on tweaking something I used to do that I think is fantastic. And I use it all the time, the technique. I have another video on there called How to Create a Love Shield, because I believe that love is one of the most strongest emotions we can use, that you don't have to walk in afraid. You don't walk in like you're so cocky and you know everything, but confident, but shielding yourself. And I always tell people the video takes longer to watch than it does to do it. It takes 30 seconds to do once you get good at it. But I walk you through how to create it on your own, rather than you finishing the video and going, what was step 7 again? But I think those are 2 very important things. I like even energy healing or readings. I won't do them if I'm sick or not feeling well or whatever it is. I think you need, eat. So be grounded, shielded, all those things I would suggest. I'm sure you guys are going to add a lot more. But those are off the top of my head.
I don't necessarily encourage people to shield up before we go, though. Even with the seances that I do at the house, or if I'm doing seances out or investigations, I always get people to introduce themselves as a group. So
I was thinking going into a place. You're thinking going into a place you've never been.
Yeah.
And not
so I still do. I still make people introduce themselves. This is my name. And you are allowed to touch me, and you're allowed to use my energy, or you're not allowed to use my energy. You're not allowed to touch me. It's just stating their intention out loud as well too, because and introducing yourself, and then you get your name back on the spirit box is pretty awesome that's a pretty awesome experience for people, right?
It is
introducing yourself, because we're going into their space. So
absolutely.
I don't know. I think that's also one as
Very
well too.
respectful.
That's why I
Being
brought up about the
respectful.
shielding, though, because and I would never tell somebody you must be shielded if you walk in. I would just suggest it if they were sensitive, or there are people
Yeah.
that go in there with some trepidation and fear that get talked into going along with
Yeah.
somebody that they're not. So I offer it to them if that's something you would feel more comfortable with. But I love the introduction you suggested. I love it.
And it's the level of the haunting of the location as well too. Like, you know, what are the stories to that location? Like, I'm taking people to the Ireland House in Burlington.
Oh, it's a great place.
It is a great place, but it's not aggressive or intimidating.
No.
But it's super interactive right off the hop as soon as you get there. But treating it respectfully, right? And everybody, every group I have ever taken, I take groups twice a year for I don't know how many years now. And
Let me know.
I brought my mother. I brought my mother.
Place, so it is. It is one of those places where you know that if you're bringing group there, they're going to be safe there.
You know? Exactly. But I still run it the same as I would if somewhere where, you know, people have been scratched. I still run it exactly the same. This is what you can do. And we introduce ourselves, we state our intention, and then we say goodbye at the end. Thank you very much. And, you know, we appreciate, and you're going to stay here and we're leaving now. And
absolutely.
Then if they want to do that with the spirits of the manor, whenever people would come and visit or people wanted to film there, we would say, okay, people are going to come in. They're going to, you know, film. They're going to be here for a while. Partake if you want to. Don't partake if you don't want to. The choice is yours. Our spirits loved it. You know, they'd drop coins from the ceiling. Doors would open and close. They'd be up and down the hall all night. I'm like, we don't even get this kind of action. I want coins. You know.
Well, I just think the spirits need to have that autonomy as well too. They don't have to interact if they are not wanting to. They don't need to be our you know, entertainment monkeys.
You know what drives me crazy too is when you see on TV, especially, or even YouTuber videos, and I'm not saying it judgmentally, but especially if you're working, say, even with what people would call a ghost, an earthbound spirit, for example, right? And you know what's notorious for that, walking in and they get something happening on camera and then they ask the spirit to do it 3 or 4 more times like they're a trained monkey. So I love that you brought that up, that yes, the spirit has spirits.
Poke my eyeballs out.
No,
drives me crazy.
It's important. It's not a sideshow. You know,
Yes.
any gift that they give you is a gift, and recognize that as a gift, because for some spirits, it's a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy to do some of this stuff.
It goes back to television. Your expectations that you see on a show, don't bring them into a tour.
But
the Ireland House, it delivers every time, and
no,
it
that's
delivers
not what
in a beautiful way.
the egging on and the provoking. That's what I mean. Like, you see that on television. Don't bring that there.
And I also believe, with that being said, you have to, like television, you don't build up often these big rapports. If you build up a rapport with, you know, these spirits, like the spirits of Ireland House will know you. Every time I did an event at Casa Loma, we were like 125 people a night. And I don't know how many I would do every month. And I would always go an hour before people started coming in. And I would go in and I would say, okay, you know, Sir Henry, this is how many people we're having this evening. Because we split the tour up. No, I didn't walk them all through room to room. 125 people. We split them up because we had, you know, like a lot. We had like 250,000 square feet, you know, at least. So some would go through the tunnel into the stables, and then the rest would come up through the main part of the house. But point is I would go in and I would literally go through the whole roster for the evening. And that was the end of that. So if they wanted to partake, they could. If they didn't, they didn't. Many times I would have footsteps coming in behind me while I was talking, and I'd be going, okay, so blah, 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 blah. And people, I think, giving that consideration, people had a great time because they got a lot of results because it's respect. It was his house.
Exactly. When you're being respectful. And I feel, especially at those kinds of locations, those spirits are proud of their house, and they are excited that people are wanting to experience their house and what's there. Like Ireland House has everything in it belonged to the Irelands right from the time they built that house.
Which is amazing.
Everything in there is a trigger object.
Yes. Yeah, the fact that it's all still there is amazing. Because Castle only, everything got sold off at auction. I think Castle was able to buy back like maybe a handful of original pieces.
That's sad.
They used a lot of that location as well to film Rain.
Oh, they filmed all kinds of stuff there.
My daughter's one of her good friends was in that series, and she used to tell me there was lots of experiences.
Oh, God, it's unbelievable. What I found interesting, though, is back in the 70s, this woman caught a photograph of a ghost in the billiards room. So she emailed me at one time, and she says, I'd like to come back to the castle, and I'd like to bring this picture and show it to people, because there's actual photograph. It came with a negative. And I went, come as my guest, because you're going to educate people. So I brought her in, and the funniest thing for me is all these people sitting there, especially young people, she pulled up the negative to show, like, you can't fudge this. And people looking at it going, what is that? Wow, digital freaking age. And they were just like, what is that? We're like, oh my gosh. So I had to go and explain all of this, which is a part of, you have one of these puppies, it's legitimate.
Yes.
Right? But
I bring the Polaroid a lot.
Sorry?
I use the Polaroid camera a lot.
I used to use it all the time in investigations.
It's undisputable. It's undisputable.
Yes. And that's the same like doing EVPs on a cassette tape or using a video camera with tape. Like it's
heavy.
All there. They are indisputable. I've got tons. I've got hours and hours of stuff captured at investigations within these methods. And you can't go wrong with that. You can't,
It's like
spooky.
Ellen, no worries. And you're 100% right about Kerrilynn. But thank you.
I always feel like I need to rein it in. I don't mean to be big.
No, be yourself.
No, you're saying
beautiful.
It's beautiful. Because I think everything you've been saying, I've been going, I should have thought of that. Yes.
Knowing you the way we know you, Kerrilynn.
Yeah.
And somebody asked if we're all Canadians. We are.
Yes.
Sure are.
Sorry.
Tessa.
I know. Sorry. Yeah.
Well played, Amelia.
Thank you. Thank you. I am the comic here. Michael Kennedy said cell phones have great cameras now. They do. Nobody's saying that they don't. We just say that they're a little bit harder to prove because they're so exceptional. And film, you can't dispute film. Once it's printed, it's printed. Digital can always be manipulated.
Yeah. The only time you could fudge an actual photograph is once it hits the computer. And it's the same with doing EVPs on cassette tapes. Never use both sides because the sound can bleed over to the other side. So yes.
Amber Heard got her whole case against Johnny Depp because of pictures that she had altered. And I can say that it's not alleged. It was proven.
Right.
They're actually time stamped. And people don't realize that your phone actually does that. But it needs a forensic scientist to take that apart. And
go into the echo data.
While we're talking about this, I'm going to put something up just because. So this I'm going to show these two pictures. We're going back to the Miami Mall. I think Amelia, you sent me these.
Oh yes, yes. And I got so much grief over that.
One of you guys sent it to me. No, but you know how the guy caught it? You did. Okay. You know how he caught it is the police were taking away everybody's cell phones and their videos, and they were scrubbing them clean. This guy had a VHS camera. And they know there's no
didn't know what it was.
Have this. Okay. We're going to put this up. And now, because of this evidence, they cannot say no, they were not aliens. So this is the first one I'm going to show.
Plus Congress talked about it.
Yes. See?
Oh, yes.
And he said what was interesting about them is they kept changing.
Yep.
Like they were shifting in and out. So my question is, are we talking blue beam or are we talking for real? I'm going to put up the other picture. Hold on. Okay, 1 second. Get rid of this dude.
Kathy
right over
Hanley Little is saying it was real.
She lives in Florida. So Kathy was the one that sent this to me. Kathy, I'm going to call you out because you did. So we're
there.
gonna
Kathy being called out. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Yeah. If I could just add something to this to help validate this a little bit more, on our group page, The Outer Realm, I posted a video. It's a TikTok clip, but it's a TikTok clip of a gentleman who is former CIA, who was actually involved in this department, talk about skinwalkers. And these are former SEAL team. So if you're interested, go over there to the Outer Realm Facebook page. The clip is there. The conversation is there. And these are people who now can just now be open and talk about this. So that'll add a little bit more to if you're leaning to the way of no, it can't be possible.
Well, plus U.S. Congress talked about it. That
Yes.
Kathy sent me the clip.
Yeah,
I watched the little speech.
Yeah.
That's right.
And never mind what you're saying on top of it with ex-Navy SEALs talking about, because I received so much grief about this from certain people, and I thought I'm not going to argue.
Like,
But
it's
I
not
knew
true. It's
Kathy
not true.
told
It's
me-
not true. Yeah. But
Too
just
many
the point I'm trying to make was that it was done. He goes, the guy basically says that he goes, I like 90s stuff. I have a flip phone
Yeah.
and I was with a VHS camera while everybody else is getting scrubbed. I'm sitting at my camera and he holds up this big, crazy VHS tape and he goes, my family vacation and the footage.
On a VHS.
Oh yeah, it was one of those big honkers, right? The very first ones that
mentioned
came
them.
out.
Yeah, it's a winner for our side. It's an Oscar for our side.
No, but
I
they
do-
mentioned him in Congress that he hasn't given them the tape. They want the tape.
No,
And
no.
he's not giving it.
He gave it to the people who he knew would put it out there. It's exactly what he did, right? So,
Yeah. And they'd have to
Clever.
subpoena him to get it anyways, and they'd have to show just cause that it's real, and then that opens up a whole other can of worms for the Congress. But
Yeah.
now I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh my God, forget it. Seriously. It's only Wednesday, Amelia. Yeah.
I know. So you know what? Like, it just goes to show you cannot fudge some things. So I highly recommend, if you're
Old
going to
school
go.
is good.
Now I remember.
Bring a compass.
Yes,
I
the
didn't
poor
get a
man's
station.
EMF, right? That's
Mhm.
right. That's right. Don't put it near any stones or power boxes, and you'll be all right.
Now I remember. I can understand why people, because of AI and everything that's going on with CGI, why they would question it. So just devil's advocate there. I can understand why you would question it, but we're being so conditioned to believe that we're not going to believe what we see when it's real. So never
I
forget that.
The arguments I got, though, were, oh, no, they said it was a big group of teenagers that were fighting. I'm sorry. And like I say, somebody that lives there, that watches our
It's
programs.
freaking 8 feet tall.
in the street was practically
That's
there.
somebody
It
who
was
really
just nuts.
overfed their kid.
Wow. Yeah, NBA's
Hormones.
lining them up outside.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was
kidding me?
crazy. But
How many emergency service vehicles were there and everything else?
Yeah,
Like,
because it
that's
was
on a-
nothing but a prank, right, Kerrilynn? So
Yeah.
let's send in a 10 alarm for a prank.
Mhm.
That's his name, Fitz.
Yes.
And they mentioned him in Congress, too, because he didn't
I
turn
know.
it in.
Oh, you
Because
gotta love
they
the name
want
Fitz,
it.
too.
So they could say, oh, we examined it and it's nothing. I hope they
Mhm.
never get it. And
So do I.
because right now it's in the hands of people who are putting it all out everywhere. And he has the original.
Well, it'd be interesting, like not politically, and I'm not suggesting I'm a party of what or whatever in the US because we don't talk politics.
No.
I'm just saying if a particular government gets in, there will be some changes there if governments change after the next election.
in the end, there's going to be a lot of changes in ways that we cannot imagine, good or bad. So brace yourselves, because I think there's going to be some things that people are going to kind of go, it's outside their comfort level within the field of high strangeness.
A whole lot outside.
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so,
to quote Joe Montaldo, and I remember years ago when he used to produce his show, so I always used to have an hour between my show on Monday nights and the next one, and it was later at night. And I remember asking him this when I first came on the network about, about aliens and UFOs and ETs. And he brought up the best point. He said, Laura, do you believe that they've been here before probably humanity? I go, yeah. He goes, well, don't you think with their advanced technology that if they really wanted to do something, they would have a long time ago? And I went, that makes so much sense, people. So remember that. I thought it was a good point.
It's true. I also believe
police and military.
Oh my gosh.
Only
Thank
police
you,
and
Kathy.
military. I truly think there are more of them here that have been here the whole time. Sorry, but that's my thought, So hold on. There we go.
We all need a farmer 3 times a day. That's all we need to believe.
100%.
Yeah.
That's true.
Support them as much as you can. I'm fortunate enough that I can walk to one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're slowly coming up to the top of the hour, guys. So it's time to promote. So who wants to go first?
Joe hasn't butted
Last
yet.
words, websites, events, things going
Go ahead,
on.
Lordy.
Okay, because I don't have anything to promote.
You're so
thanks, but
you have 2 shows and you have merch.
And Lorilei is working on a class and a program that she is going to finally put together and offer soon. So there is, and people can stay in tune and watch for when that will be released. Where?
Okay, I'll tell them. Okay, thank you. I just have
Don't think you could get away with stuff with Kerrilynn sitting right beneath you.
With love.
You can get a hold of me on Facebook.com/Angel Rock right now. I do readings, I do energy healing, I do teaching and mentoring. I do help with the paranormal. I'm honest with you. If it's something I don't deal with, I have many people that I can connect or talk to or whatever. Okay, so right now, but when I get my course in the new year, I'm trying to put it all under one big domain name. There'll be the resin, all the other stuff, everything. And the course is coming up in the new year. Yes. It's for people, kind of spiritual stuff if you want to learn your gifts and how to connect and what have you. Anyways, I have the Angel Rock on Monday nights, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the thing at the foot of the bed tomorrow night, right before the Outer Realm, with my co-host and amazing friend David Hansel. He's an angel channel and medium. And thank you so much for having me tonight. I had so much fun.
Pleasure.
Joy having you.
Kerrilynn.
Okay.
All right.
Need help?
Hold on your hats, people. Here it comes.
No. If you would like to participate, I have a free online intuitive development mentoring group on Facebook. It's called Kerrilynn's Morning Porch. I post intuitive practices. I do some energetic cord cutting, meditations, all that kind of fun stuff on full moons there. I have a newsletter. You can sign up for that on the website. A lot of the events are sort of winding down. But you can watch for all that. Go to the website, and it's the best place to look for things.
You got courses.
And your website is?
KerrilynShellhorn.com. Oh yeah, there's you know what? So the courses, there are courses coming up. I'm doing the 5-week meditation, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. And in December, I'm going to do one that's teaching people or to understand how grief and trauma can create the blocks where you're not receiving those signs and symbols, and how you can work on removing those so that you can understand and receive those signs and symbols. So that's coming up in December, beginning of December, and Spirit Switchboard here with the UPRN on Fridays at 6 p.m.
Both women, amazing hosts in their own right.
Jason Kenzie is coming on this week, and it's going to be crazy. So please come hang out with Jason Kenzie on Friday.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That's cool.
And that's right after Father Sean Whittington, who's on at 5.
One
so you're
of the
starting
Legion
at
of
5, and
Exorcists.
it's sweeping through, and you're going to get 2 hours of Spirit Switchboard, and you're going to get into Church of Mavis after that. And then for the diehards, you just want to end up, just like, then just stick around for news on the flip side. You'll feel it.
Oh, yeah.
It's politics. You'll feel it by the end of it.
I don't know how many times I've said no to Joe on that one.
No, yeah. So, but with that being said, tomorrow night we've got Ed Odell, and he's going to be it's going to be like a laid back evening, just a lot of fun. He's going to give us his views and his experiences in the paranormal. We're going to go all over the place because that's what Ed does, especially when he's with us. We get bantering, or you go talking in the chat room. It's just like, okay, this could go anywhere, and it will, and it's going to be outstanding. So want to thank, of course, Lorilei Potvin and Kerrilynn Shellhorn and everybody in chat. You guys are awesome. Thank you all for tuning in and being part of the fun, of course. And Mark, I have to hand it to you all the way from the UK. You're still hanging in there.
Oh, wow.
You're a freaking champion. Wow. Just saying. You really are. So big thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring tonight's show, every night show. Big thank you to Justin Snicker, Steve McGinnis. If you enjoy the show, please support us, whichever platform you are on. Subscribe, like, comment. I always get to everybody's comments. If you want to email us, theouterrealmcontact@gmail.com. Just touch base, and we'll definitely get back to you. If you want to see somebody on the show, let us know. If you don't want to see somebody on the show, you can let us know that too.
You can let Joe know. We can let Joe know.
Yeah. But I mean, we'll have these two great ladies on again in the new year. It'll be a lot of fun. So glad you guys had fun.
And we got to do this party on my show for sure. I haven't had the two of you together, so definitely
it'll be fun. And this is what beautiful energy looks like.
Preston Dennett. I wish I could go through the whole week's roster, but the Light Gate with Dolly Saffron and Preston Dennett, Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. You don't want to miss that one.
Preston's always on the show.
I know. We all got Preston's like another host. He's always on the show.
He's always producing books. It's like every 2 months, Preston's got a new book.
I know. Bam, bam, bam. It's hot off the presses. That's why.
I bet he surpassed your grandmother and those 17 babies, Lorilei.
I know. I know. It's outstanding.
I love it. God bless her.
Anyway, guys, thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow night, same time with Ed Odell. Thank you and good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.